Attack on two oil installations in Saudi Arabia has raised the specter of oil prices going up here in America. U.S. markets won't open until Monday, but we were told the attack did immense damage. Two oil facilities owned by Saudi Arabia's Aramco were attacked by drones, disrupting half of the kingdom's oil capacity. 5 million barrels of crude production a day have been impacted, we're learning. CNN senior international correspondent Ben Wiedemann joins us now with the latest. Also here is CNN's White House reporter Jeremy Diamond. Ben, first, give us the details on these attacks. No one was hurt?
What we understand is that there were no casualties in the attacks, but as you mentioned, half of Saudi Arabia's oil output has been put out of operation. That's about 5% of the world's oil production. Now, what happened was, and this was claimed by a spokesman for the Houthi rebels in Yemen, is that they fired 10 drones towards these two oil facilities. But keep in mind, Yemen is 500 miles away from those facilities. So it would indicate that somehow the Houthis, perhaps from Iran, are getting a kind of sophisticated technology that nobody thought they would have, that would be so precise as to hit these facilities. And the pictures coming out of Saudi Arabia are breathtaking in terms of the size of the fires that are going on. Now, Saudi officials say the fires are now under control, and officials at Saudi Aramco say that they hope to get production back to normal in the coming days. But certainly this has raised tension significantly, hitting Saudi Arabia's oil facilities, knocking out half. If their production is really the nightmare scenario that's been in place for this region for a very long time. And it certainly raises the possibility of further confrontation between Iran, which of course supports the Houthis, and Saudi Arabia, which since March of 2015 has been waging this war that's really become a quagmire that's left tens of thousands of Yemeni civilians dead and many more suffering from disease and hunger. Anna?
What's the word from the White House? Any response there?
Now, we know that the president did speak this morning with the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman over the phone. We do have a statement from the White House on that phone call, and this is what the White House is saying today. They're saying the United States strongly condemns today's attack on critical energy infrastructure, violent actions against civilian areas, and infrastructure vital to the global economy only deepen conflict and mistrust. The United States government is monitoring the situation and remains committed to ensuring global oil markets are stable and well supplied. So, of course, we know that the United States and Saudi Arabia are close allies, so it's natural that there would have been a phone call between the two leaders, the U.S. leader and the de facto Saudi leader. But at the heart of this conversation, also, as it's clear in this White House statement, is this question of what will happen to oil markets as a result of this attack, as a result of the disruption to Saudi oil supply. We know that the president has in the past been concerned about oil prices, and especially, of course, as he gets closer to his 2020 re-election campaign. Gas prices in the United States, always something to look out for. But beyond that, there is also, of course, the implication as it relates to Iran. We know that the United States and Saudi Arabia have coordinated closely in terms of monitoring the oil market to prevent Iran from benefiting too much from that. And there's also a question, of course, as we look at the possibility of the U.S. president engaging diplomatically with Iran's president at the United Nations next week. What will the effect of this be? We know that Iran has backed the Houthi rebels, supplied them in the past, and so there will, of course, be questions about this. We've already seen a tweet from the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, suggesting a connection here again between the Iranians and this attack.
Okay, Jeremy Diamond at the White House, Ben Wiedemann for us in Lebanon. Thank you both for that reporting. Let's get a deeper perspective on what this means. CNN diplomatic and military analyst, retired Rear Admiral John Kirby is back with us. He served as Assistant Secretary of State for Public Affairs and was also a Pentagon spokesman. And let me read to you Admiral Kirby, Secretary Pompeo's recent tweet. He writes, Tehran is behind nearly 100 attacks on Saudi Arabia, while Rouhani and Zarif pretend to engage in diplomacy. Amid all the calls for de-escalation, Iran has now launched an unprecedented attack on the world's energy supply. There is no evidence the attacks came from Yemen. What do you think of that?
Well, he's definitely signaling that they are planning to hold Iran almost singularly accountable for this strike. Now, you and I don't have access to the intelligence. We have to take him sort of at his word when he says there's no evidence that it came from Yemen. But clearly, even before Pompeo's tweet, my assumption was that the Iranians had provided the technology, if not actually conducted this attack on behalf of the Houthis from Houthi territory inside Yemen. So what Pompeo's saying is maybe it didn't even come from Yemen. Clearly, this is going to very much make more difficult any sort of rapprochement with Iran. I mean, just over the last couple of days, President Trump was talking about being willing to endorse sort of a loan to Iran by other nations to help their economy get back up on its feet. This is certainly going to, I think, torpedo any chance for that. And also, there's significant now, I would think, a rise and increase of actual conflict between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and maybe even through Yemen. I don't know that this would result on an attack by Saudi Arabia to Iranian territory, but clearly the Saudis are going to be looking for a way to retaliate inside Yemen, and all that's going to do is make that conflict even worse than it is.
A source says that Aramco hopes to have oil capacity restored within days. How serious a disruption is this to global supply?
Well, as Ben was reporting,